Hey guys, welcome to Real Life and Real Estate. And today is a producer takeover day where I am the host, Natalie, and Mark is the guest. Welcome to the party.
Thanks. I like that as a guest, I still get my host
chair.
seat.
You get your chair,
so it works.
Well, I mean, you look nice in the chair. That's your chair.
Well, thanks.
It was special made for you.
Well, yeah, I wish it was special made for. If it was special made, it would be bigger. It would have me sitting up higher. So
yeah. Can we pick the colors? So, like, when we get our next special made chairs, because we're just pretending, can mine be like pink? I think that'd be cool.
That would be sweet.
Pink and like gold.
That
or
could
like
be
greeny. I like plants and green stuff.
We could totally do that. So.
Or you know what? I'm just gonna vote. I think we should have camel colored chairs.
Okay, we can do that too.
Great, that's easy.
Yeah, that's good.
Cool. Well, welcome, guys.
And then Sarah, she'll edit everything in with CGI when we want pink and green, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's such a good idea.
We already are on a tangent, and we haven't even gotten started.
This is a good day. We've been talking for like 30 minutes, and they're like, "Oh, we should probably start the podcast."
Yeah, we probably should.
Welcome, guys. Today, we have been having guests come in, and Mark has been interviewing them, which has been really cool.
I love it. It's been so much fun. The first couple guests have been great, and we've got some really exciting guests coming up.
Yes, and so it's just been, I've learned so much, and as someone who's newer in the real estate industry, it's been cool to receive and like take notes, be like, okay, I'm going to apply that to my practice or what I do.
Well, and the cool thing is, I shouldn't say the funny thing, it's really cool because even on your most recent listing, you jumped right in and started doing some of the things that we learned from Ben Leeson, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I was like... Once we do the math, how much I'm going to make is maybe not as much as I thought because I put like power washing into it and wanted to get really good photos and like talk to them about the HGTV look and how we want this. And it was just funny because I was like, I may need to think about this next time.
Well, and realistically, though, it was for a house built in what, like 1920s? 1800s, yeah. So it's never going to have the full HGTV look. Nope. They didn't have the money for that. However... You went above and beyond for the client, which is what we call, around our sphere, we call second mile service, where you went above and beyond. And, I always think back to one of my clients, and maybe I've even talked about this on the podcast before, but I had a client one time that I sold their $80,000 house for them, That was back in the day when, that was an okay sale for me, right? Earlier in my career. But then after they moved away, he got a PhD and is working in mid to upper level management for a big corporation, and then moves back, and now all of a sudden it's a $750,000 house that I'm selling him, right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, you never know when you serve someone really well. You never know who that's going to introduce you to. They may have parents that are in a position to buy something higher, or siblings, or other people will take note of how good you treat them. So I think you did the right thing, and really have showed a lot of professionalism. So I've been impressed with that, and things that we learned from that first interview with Ben Leeson, and that's why I'm excited about the interviews. Is because I have my way, and we're about to roll out the Ultimate Success Framework. You've been a big part of producing that, right? Yeah. As is Sarah in the room, who's sitting with us as always. So we're working on this Ultimate Success Framework. We're rolling out the online course, and this is a way that I have been successful in the business. But there's not just one way to be successful. There's a lot of different perspective out there, and that's what I'm really enjoying about doing these interviews, is that we're getting a ton of different perspective from all over the real estate landscape.
Yeah, I think it's like that with any business that you have. When you start a business, you're going to glean from people around that have the same style, same thing, or have the same personality as you. And so you kind of start getting things from other people and then create your own thing.
That's right.
And so that's what you're supposed to do. And that's what everything that I feel like you do is about. Is I'm not trying to duplicate Mark Peebles. I'm trying to show you what's made me successful and help you be successful too. And so that's why we have this podcast. That's why we're doing the Ultimate Success framework.
Yep.
It's 100 days to 100K.
That's right.
It's really going to be amazing, because what people need is something to grab onto to say, okay, here's something tangible that I can set in stone. Here's a calendar for me to do. Here's my list. People thrive off a list. A lot of times people who are business owners want something that just is like, here's your launching pad.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people get stuck. And a lot of people in real estate, what's the statistic? 3 years? Is it once people in like 1 to 3 years stop doing real estate? What is it?
Well,
what is it? Do you know?
87% of agents 5 years from the day they get their license will not be in the business anymore.
There we go. Okay.
87%. That means only 13% of people that get into this business are actually going to make it in the business, are actually going to be successful in the business. And I think there's many factors as to why, but I think one of the biggest factors is so many people get into the business, they have no idea what to do. They're just out twiddling their thumbs, and they think, oh, I've got a real estate license, so business is going to start coming in,
flock to me.
right? and you've been licensed now, what? 4 or 5 months?
No, longer than that.
Longer
it's been
than that.
Since February.
Oh, since February. Okay.
So no, you're right. 5 months.
Yeah, I was
Sorry.
pretty good on my math there, Natalie. But no, I'm just kidding. No, but the thing is that firsthand, it wasn't easy to generate your first few deals here.
No, and honestly, like it's 5 months later. I'm just now getting things moving, and the first person who I had connected with that I really reached out to that was like ready was like, okay, I'll do it today. And I was, oh man, I remember I was so excited.
Right.
I don't know what I'm doing. This is exciting. Let's go. Well, it's now taken until now, and we're still preparing for her to list.
Yep.
And so that's just how it works.
It is.
That's how it should work for anyone.
Time.
And I think it's honestly intentional about just the business world, and maybe I don't know if God framed it this way because it's a business world, but it equips you to be able to get ready for the people.
Right.
So you're not just like launching into business and have 1 million people knocking at your door, but you have to really lay that foundation, and then also like you have to prove yourself to people. Like, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm talking about, and being able to prove that helps.
The other thing though, Natalie, is that what you've been doing, you're building pipeline.
Yeah.
Like the difference between you and me, there's really not a lot of difference, because I'm doing things today. I'm having conversations today that are not going to come to fruition into helping someone buy, sell, or invest in real estate for another 6 months, right? I actually have deals going right now that started a year ago with a meeting in the office. So when you think about what you're doing, you are building pipeline. Yes, you're learning the business. You are learning, the market. You're learning how to read the market. You're learning and understanding, how to give a listing presentation, how to give a buyer presentation. You're learning these things, how to use dot loop, right?
Yeah,
or whatever signing platform.
The things.
You're learning all the things, and there's a lot to learn, but you're building pipeline so that all of a sudden, like you got 2 under contract in a day, right?
In 2 days,
2 days, right?
Yeah, it was wild.
Right, and that did not happen overnight. It happened because you were building pipeline, and then boom, it comes together.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about real estate. I think back to, let's see, it was probably 2006, 2007. I would say 2007. I had nothing going, and I remember being in a small group, a church small group, and I was like, guys, I really need some prayer. We have nothing going.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going to have any business. We just need prayer about it. And I remember we prayed about it, and the Lord answered that prayer, because I came back the next week, I had 5 homes under contract at one time.
Awesome.
But the thing is, none of them, some of them came quick, but it was a lot of stuff that I'd been working on that I never thought would happen.
Yeah. I always tell Joey, my husband, I say, like, it's all just like lingering in the air, in the stratosphere. I'm like, come on now. Like, I'm waiting. Like, it's all been thrown up in the air. It's kind of like juggling, and you're waiting for the ball to fall. And you're just like, okay, come on. Okay, I prepared. And you just have to wait for it to fall. Well,
and it's that today's going to be the day, I've got a client under contract right now. No joke. I think I did a deal for her and her husband. They were going through a very difficult time. It was during the crash. I did a deal for them, helped them sell their house before it went into foreclosure on a short sale. Back in the day, we used to do a lot of short sales. And since then, I have probably had 20 conversations since 2008 with her about buying another home. She's been renting all this time. They went through some personal stuff and ended up divorced, still friends and everything, and raised a really good family. But she's been talking about it for years. Well, I've shown her stuff so many times over the years. Last year, I showed her a couple of multifamilies that she was thinking, maybe I'll buy a duplex and live in half. And so I got to the point where I was like, I don't know if she's ever going to buy anything. Well, last weekend, out of the blue, she calls me and says, hey, I've got to see this house. I love this house.
Yep.
And we're under contract on it. So
that is so funny.
But that's how this business works. And then you'll get to the place where you're like, nothing's going. But you keep doing the stuff. You keep working. You don't give up. And boom, all of a sudden, you got 5 under contract, right?
Absolutely.
And that's just the nature of this business. But what happens, going back to how we started into this with, 87% of agents failing, they fail to build pipeline. They fail to build the relationships necessary to drive the business. They think, okay, I'm going to tell the world one time that I'm licensed, and all of a sudden everything's going to come to me, and that is not how it works. Yeah. But the reason that this year I'll probably do close to 20 million just by myself.
Let's go.
I mean, that's a good year. That's a really good year just for pretty much for a single agent. Now I've got, as you know, I have a phenomenal transaction coordinator.
Yep.
And I do have, like, you'll show houses for me occasionally to my clients. I have other agents that I'll pay to show houses because capacity-wise, it's hard to do all of that on your own.
Yes, but it is primarily you doing all of the actual business.
It is. But the reason that is like it is, like I'm able to do that much business is because over the years, I built so much pipeline. Really, it's about all these relationships that I built. So when people think real estate, they're like, I need to call Mark.
Yeah.
And that's where I want to get everybody to.
Yeah.
And, that's a lot of what I've talked about on this podcast is doing these things will help you get to that place. And when this is not an advertisement for Ultimate Success Framework, but when we launch this program, it is a framework to help you do that.
Yeah. Well, I will say just kudos to you. Mark has set me up for success since I started and just kind of gave me, here are the key points of what you need to do. A lot of it is in the Ultimate Success Framework. And I have a couple roles. I work here, and I also do that for myself. And so when I work for NavX. There we go. They work here. In this building.
In this,
So when it comes to that, like transparently, and in a great way, I just got another message this morning on Facebook. Hey, you're a realtor, right? Like, hey, can you help me? And it originally was like, I need a rental. And I was like, okay, well, why do you want a rental? Like, and I've known this my whole life, coming from people who value like having things that are worth value. Don't rent when you can buy. Like, if you can buy and just pay your own mortgage, not someone else's.
Right.
So anyways, had a conversation, already sent them over to our lender and starting that. But it's just because I just am consistent. And so it's all about being consistent and communicating well and just sharing and not waiting for things to just come over to you and learning from other people. Putting in some great pipelines or putting things in process to it's not going to consume my life. Like, I'm not going to let real estate consume my life because there's more for my ultimate success. There's more. But I am going to continually throw it in conversations.
Right.
I just toss it in there.
Well, and that I think that's probably a question. You're going to kind of role reverse and ask me some of the questions that I've been asking some of these other people.
If you're looking at me, look down at my phone.
I'm not going to get into what I think ultimate success is yet.
Exactly. Don't say it yet, because I got a question later for that. Okay, so here we go. I've got some questions for you. I have questions for Mark. These are the ones that he likes to ask the guests that come on. And you guys know we've done some like questions with Mark podcast episodes, but these are a little bit different, which I think are going to be really great for us. So who has been the greatest influence on your life and your career?
So I mean, I even knew the question was coming, and it's really hard because I look at three things. Number one is my mom. When I was a kid, my mom and dad started me into a mowing business. And my mom worked with me. Like, we had commercial jobs by the time I was 10. And my dad had taken me out, bought me a commercial mower, and my mom drove me around and cut grass with me until I was 16. She taught me the value of hard work. She taught me how to finish a job and to do what was right by the customer. And so I learned so much from just my mom being with me all that time. Plus, like, what's better than having a mother with her son? I don't know. I learned a lot. But then my dad, his work ethic and his mentorship, once I got with him into real estate, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for the mentorship of my dad. And not just the mentorship of my dad, but the good name that he built in this business. I mean, he, in our real estate market, he's been the president of our local board. He has been Realtor of the Year, which only one realtor every year gets that in our area.
Yeah.
You know, he has had a very successful career, top 5% almost his entire career, many years top 2%. I mean, he has been an icon in our local market for so many years. But then I got him as my mentor, which was pretty amazing. And I, even still today, when I have challenges, my dad's 81 years old, but super sharp, still licensed, still a broker, right? He's super sharp. And so even today, when I have a problem and I'm like, man, I have no idea what to do about this, I'll call my dad and say, hey, what would you do? And we'll talk through things. And he does the same with me, you know? So that's number two, like the influence of my mom and dad. Let's make them one. And honestly, my wife, Elizabeth, has had, I mean, obviously who you marry matters, and marriage is never easy, right? But we've been through a lot of hard stuff together. But my wife, she's been my biggest fan, my biggest supporter. Sometimes she calls me out on things that I need to be called out on, you know, and honestly, I don't know what I'd do without her. Like I don't know what I'd do without her in my life. I would be absolutely lost. And so
she's pretty awesome, guys.
She is pretty awesome. No, she is very awesome. So, I've really struggled with that, answering that question, because
I'm sure,
because those have been my biggest influences on who I am today.
Yeah. Well, they're great influences.
Good. All right.
I honestly, I think your dad is amazing. And I've had some conversations with your mom, but I've had more interactions with your dad. And he just is genuine, who he is, loves people, and loves helping people. And I think that reflects, I think your whole family is that way. So I'm sure it came from all the way from the top. But I feel like you're that way, and I feel like now your kids, as they grow into adults, are starting to produce that. So
yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
It's really cool. Really cool.
Yep.
I will have always hire a Peebles child before anybody else to do anything.
That's good.
Yes, I call the Peebles.
Well, Tommy, my son, who's 22, senior in college, next year is planning to come back and be in real estate with me, you know?
Let's go.
So then I get to mentor him and teach him the business. I'm excited about that,
Yeah, he'll be so good at that. Okay, here's another question for you. If you could go back to your very first year in business, and I think we talked about this once, but I want to hear you talk about it again. What advice would you give yourself?
I'm probably going to give myself different advice.
It always changes, I'm sure.
It does. I think if I were going to go back... Man, I don't know why. See, this is funny because I know the questions are coming, and I purposely didn't really prepare this today because I really wanted to be genuine in this. But if I could go back, I would probably tell myself, don't forget to prioritize your family, because so many years in this business, I didn't, and I went through some hard stuff because of that. But I would say, make your family first priority and set your schedule around them, I think is what I would need to tell myself.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I, from being new in the business and seeing how it can overtake your life.
It can.
So quickly. You have to set that priority from the beginning. Whether it is family with kids, parents, whatever stage of life you're in, you have a family that you should be committed to first. And so finding that family, whether it's someone you're married to or just your family, siblings, whatever, committing to that and being locked in, like, I think that is so key and important for us all to remember. It's very easy to get caught up in real estate.
Very easy. It's a consuming business.
It is.
Because I've got mine tucked under my leg, but these things don't stop,
no, they
right?
don't.
We have to determine when they stop. And so, Coach in 2019, when I was going through a very difficult time, said, Mark, you need a communication plan that you make your clients sign off on. They need to know that you're not available after 7 p.m. unless it's an emergency. And if they need to talk to you, they need to text you emergency so that you know to call them back. And I used that for many years. And guess what? I never had anyone that had an emergency because there's no emergency that needs to take my family time in the evening,
Absolutely.
So yeah, that I probably would.
I love that. And when I was listening to Vicky talk, because when we recorded Vicky's, I was a little bit under the weather, so I stayed out of the main small, tiny room that we're in, and didn't want anyone to catch my cold. But I went back and listened to it. It took me a few days because my commute here also is short, so I always like to listen to podcasts on my commute, and so it took me a little while. One thing she talked about was realizing she's a workaholic and having a conversation with her husband about making a decision for her. Can I answer this call or not? And I went, And I said, Joey, I learned this and I want to talk to you about this. And he was like, this is great. Yes, I would love to do this. So now we both have had a conversation where if we're having family time of some capacity and either of us are on the phone, we have the door open for someone to say something. And then if a phone call comes in, we both have the door open for someone to say, please don't.
Yeah, because you're both entrepreneurs.
We are. And he gets calls at 7:30 or 8 or 9.
Yep.
And I'm texting away at various hours and calls. And sometimes it's what you have to do to like figure stuff out, but it doesn't have to be all the time. And so, like, for instance, yesterday was a big day for me. I got another deal closed and things like that. Last night, I just did not touch my phone when I got home. And it was awesome. And it's been a long time since I've been able to do that.
It is freeing to not worry about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just being able to be present with my kids and with my husband. It's good. So I think that is great advice. Prioritizing your family first is just always going to be the best in everything. So, okay, here's a question. What does success look... Here we go. Back to what we had talked about in the beginning. What does success look like for you now? And has it changed over the years?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Talk about
Definitely has changed over the years. So, is there an ultimate success question in there? What is ultimate success? How do you define ultimate success?
That's kind of it.
Okay, that's kind of it. Okay, so let me say...
if I come back to it, then we'll just
That's
go
okay.
past it.
Let me say this. When I was younger in the business, I've always been a big visionary, big dreamer. Like, my wife says as a serial entrepreneur, like, I don't think small about anything. Like, it's never been... I'm just going to start, a little brokerage, or I'm going to have a little real estate team. No, we're going to be the biggest real estate team, or we're going to have a national brokerage, whatever. And so when I used to start something, I thought it needed to be the biggest and the best. And so, like my team, at one point, we had over 10 agents on the team, plus we had staff on the team, had a ton of overhead on the team. We were doing great. We sold a lot of houses, but I was also running myself into the ground. That was during the period where I was not prioritizing my family, And so I think what's happened, the shift that's happened probably over the last 6, 7 years, 8 years maybe, is I've gone from needing to rank high, right? So pull up the ranking reports in my market. I used to always run top 20.
Yeah.
Last year, I fell out of the top 50, right? But I did really well for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't care if someone outperforms me. I also own a brokerage.
Yeah, you have a lot going on.
I mean, my performance as an agent has gone down as our brokerages growed.
Yeah.
Growed. And so as the brokerage has grown, I've spent more time on the brokerage, more time on those responsibilities, more time on this kind of stuff, building the content to help agents live their best lives and achieve ultimate success. And so, so with that said, now what I sell in real estate, I still sell real estate. In fact, I had a good friend who was a broker as I was starting NavX tell me, listen, never give up your sales business. It's the easiest money you'll make. And he's right. Selling real estate, it's not easy, okay? But it is some of the easier money that I make. And so so all of that to say, I am good with what provides for my family. I don't need the status. I don't need anyone to look at me and say, wow, you're the biggest agent in town. I just want to know at the end of the day that I've served my family well, that I've made a good living for them, that we've paid our bills, been able to invest in the things we want to invest in and do those kind of things. And that I've served the clients that I get to serve well and the agents that I've committed to serve, that they're well served, that they know that they're cared for, genuinely cared for. Those are the things that have become important to me, not the status of it. And so so that would be the biggest change. And that, success for me, let's define success. Did I not? I didn't get there yet, right?
I was actually about to ask you, can you actually tell us, because you've talked about this before, but it's been a while, and I'd love to remind people of your ultimate success or success. What does that mean to you?
So my personal vision is to leave a legacy spiritually and financially that will impact the generations of my family. So I'm a follower of Jesus. I'm a Christian, which, if you are listening and or watching and you're not, I'm not here to judge you with that. I will tell you that faith plays the most important part in my life. When my faith is healthy, when my spiritual relationship with God is healthy, my marriage is healthier, my relationship with my children is healthier, I do better in my business because I've got this relationship worked out first. So just know that, that's my personal story, and I do my best to live my faith, right? And so for me, my desire to leave a legacy spiritually is that my children and my children's children and generations to come will also know Jesus and know the full life that I've been able to live because I lived that life.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they follow in my footsteps in that. And so I want to model that for them and the next generation. And then financially, I would love to leave a great big inheritance for my children and my children's children, right? And I think that is a good goal to have, and you invest wisely so that you can do that. You can leave the next generation better than you were left. And so with that said, though, it's more about teaching my children and my children's children that we don't own anything we have. It was provided to us. And so we need to live our lives with open hands and be generous with what we have.
Absolutely.
And so it's about teaching financial generosity with others. A few years ago, I had an opportunity to give to something, to sow into something. I'm not a give back person. I'm a sow into person. That's the language that I've always used with my family. My personal, LLC that I run my real estate sales business out of is called Home Sown. It's because from the homes that I sell, I'm sowing into things. And so
cool. I never do that.
Yeah, I probably haven't talked about it with you, but
no, you always call it Home Sown, and I'm like,
I believe in we don't receive and then give something back, right? Anytime we are giving, we are sowing into something, and I've always believed that someday I'm gonna sow into there's a ministry we support in Nicaragua. And I believe, I'm sowing into this ministry in Nicaragua. So I'm planting seeds. That's where the term comes from. You sow seeds and then seeds grow. And so I'm sowing into something that someday one of my great grandchildren that doesn't even know my name might be on a trip in Nicaragua. And because of something that we sowed into there, he's going to be introduced to something that changes his life.
Yep.
Maybe that's where he gets to know Jesus, right? So I believe that the things that I sow into now are going to reap great things in the future. And so that's why we're generous. But a few years ago, I had the opportunity to give to something at a time when we were pretty desperate for the money. And I had a very unexpected blessing fall on us from a business that I had years ago, where the business, we were finally to the place where they were allowed to shut it down, and I got a decent check out of it that was totally unexpected. And I felt called to sow the whole thing in a time when we really needed the money, But I was reminded that what I have is not my own. And if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to sow into something, I feel called to sow into something that God will then provide the rest for me. So that's my philosophy. And please don't take me telling stories like that. That's not bragging. That is just the hopefully an example of how you can learn to sow into things. So ultimate success. Ultimate success. If the future generations do that, then I have achieved ultimate success. And then really, for me, ultimate success is, while everyone else is at my funeral talking about me, I'll be hearing, "Well done, good and faithful servant." That is ultimate success.
Yep. That's amazing. Yes. And I know we've talked about that before, and it always is so good. Okay, here we go. I have another question for you. What is a life lesson that you've learned the hard way that you wish someone would have told you sooner? A life lesson, not necessarily a real estate question or any real estate lesson or anything like that, but just in life.
So I was the youngest of three. When my sisters were in high school, my parents were a little po. They were po. You know what I'm saying? But by the time my sisters had left the house, my dad was really in stride. He had come out of the 80s that was very difficult, and he was doing great in his career. So I really didn't ever grow up with that feeling of being poor. And I just saw my dad make money, and my mom was a very good money manager. I never learned to manage money well. I wish I had leaned into the things that my mom would talk about in terms of money management. And so I never learned to manage money well. I started out of college. I got a good job. I was making more money than most of my friends were making out of college. And when I was doing that, I was making a lot of dumb decisions, right? Because I could get credit cards, I could get approved for loans, and I got into a lot of dumb debt that kept growing a little bit, growing a little bit, growing a little bit. Then 2008 happened in real estate. I went 7 months without income, and I lost everything. So I wish that I had been exposed to or been willing to listen to like a Dave Ramsey back in the day, to be and taking it seriously. And in fact, funny story, I was riding on an airplane when I was with my second pharmaceutical company. I was riding on an airplane with a guy, and he's telling me about him and his wife they're going to be debt free. They pack their lunches every day. They're, doing all this stuff. And I'm like sitting there going, I know how much money you make. We make the same amount of money. You make really good money. Like, you're crazy. What are you thinking,
Yeah.
And then fast forward after, I left that company after a year, went full-time into real estate. And then fast forward to 2008, I thought back so many times to that conversation and thought, I wish I had listened and been like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
I would have been so much further ahead had I learned to manage my debt. And so I do a much better job of that today.
Yep.
I'm not a great budget person, but I do talk in the Ultimate Success Framework. I talk about budgeting because as you are building, it is so critically important. And so most successful people, they budget. So that's money management.
Yeah.
Hard lesson. Hard lesson. When you lose everything, it's a hard lesson.
Yeah. I wish I would have been more open to it when I was first getting out of college or even in college, because I kind of grew up in a similar situation where my parents didn't really teach it, because if they kept any struggles or anything that was going on, they kept it private, which I appreciate as a child. So I never really understood or had like major stress or concern about our money. I just knew. I said this the other day. I was like, I knew it was bad when we would not have cable.
Yeah, right.
It was all of a sudden, guys, we only have 3 channels again. And I'm like, oh, okay. What's wrong with our it's just not working.
There
and
are
I'm
people
like,
younger than you listening to this right now going, I don't understand.
Cable?
What is that? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a thing. Well, when we had 3 channels, I knew something was up.
That's so funny.
But yeah, so
ABC, NBC, CBS, and sometimes Fox would come in.
We had PBS Kids. I just lived on channel 16 is what it was.
That's right.
Us. Yep, easy.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, both my husband and I both grew up in opposite environments. More of your perspective, your parents. Joey also says Poe.
Yeah, Poe.
Poe. Oh man. But it made him. He didn't know how to manage money, and I didn't know how to manage money, and we got married. 2 people who didn't know how to manage money that liked to have a good time, and we would just kind of do whatever we wanted and not really think about it. And then when we got married, we were like, there's some stuff there in the stratosphere that we're just not going to talk about. Yeah. And then eventually we were like, okay, we got to figure this thing out.
It does. And it hits hard. Yeah. Especially then everything tightens up. And it brings so much unneeded stress on
unnecessary.
A family.
And it's one of the major factors of divorce. It's either infidelity or money. And so if you can try to keep some things in order or prepare yourself, if there's someone out there who isn't married yet and plans to be, prepare yourself now. Yep. And that's a way to prepare for marriage. Absolutely. Very good. And then if you don't have it figured out, it's okay. There's people out there who want to help you. So, okay, here we go. Another question I have for you. Do you have a day? I know, I kind of know the answer to this. Yeah. Do you have a daily routine? And what is your most important daily habit?
So I actually think in the interview, one of our interviews, I talked a little bit about my daily routine. So I've never been a very routine person, but morning is very important to me. So I have my morning routine. I get up in the morning. I go to the gym. I'm not a person that can get up and just open up and start reading. I'm usually too foggy. So going to the gym helps wake me up. I come home, I get ready, and then I do my reading. I like to read the Bible in the morning, fill myself spiritually, spend some time in prayer, and then I'm off to the races for my day. Now, I will tell you, one of the things I've desperately been trying to do, and we may have talked about this, but I've been really trying to get control of my calendar and start working in the work modes that we actually teach in the Ultimate Success Framework. And this is
shameless plug.
Well, but let me tell you why this is important. It's important because I started deep work, and I think we did a podcast. I can't remember if we did a podcast on
I think
deep
we
work.
talked about deep work. Did we talk about deep work, Sarah? She's
in the
background. She knows what we talk about.
She's like, I don't remember that.
This is too intense.
So Deep Work is a book by Cal Newport. I don't have that in front of me, but great book. Highly recommend it. But he talks about how much more you get done in this deep work, and he talks about people that have used deep work, completely uninterrupted work, and how it has really driven success or new discovery or content or whatever the case is. I also read a book by Jordan Rayner in the past 6 months called Redeeming Your Time, which is, I also highly recommend. That's actually where I first heard about deep work. So I came back. I started applying this deep work in the last many months here.
Yeah, it's been a few months.
And when I'm in deep work, I tuck away. I'd say, guys, I'm going into my deep work. And then I'm really able to focus on the things that are important, to build my business or to build content. Like the whole Ultimate Success framework it's something I've all built in deep work. But as I got into it, I started to realize, man, deep work does not work for a real estate agent. It does for certain things. Like, if you need to develop your email campaigns or think creatively, you need that time where you're uninterrupted, where you can get your creative mind into the zone and really begin creating content.
Yep.
But you can't do that with your phone open, you checking emails. All of that is distracted work. So I was like, okay, so I'm supposed to be driving business. I'm supposed to be texting and calling past clients. I'm supposed to be doing some of these things. Okay, so if I'm doing that, that's really connecting with people. It is distracted work. It's very easy to get distracted because you do have a phone in your hand, right? Or you do have a laptop up. Okay, so that's connective work. Okay, but connective work doesn't cover everything because there are times when I'm on listing appointments, showing appointments. I'm not going to be distracted. I'm not answering my phone during that time. Then I was like, that's when I'm actually performing. So that's performance work, right? So we use connective work to get to performance work.
Yeah.
We use deep work to drive content that is going to, solidify us in the minds of, our sphere of influence, our list, right? So we need that deep work still to get those things done. But there's one other kind of work, and that's the essential work. In this business, there's essential work that has to be done, right? I've got a deal going. I've got to get to, even today, before the end of the night tonight, I have to have a response on a defect notice. That's what we call in our market. We have inspections and then we put out defect notices. Well, I've got one. We've been working through quotes with the seller. We're getting a quote back late this afternoon. And as soon as I get on my last appointment of the day, I'm going to call them and go through this defect notice. That is essential work. But during the day, other essential work is you need to respond to text messages. You need to respond to emails. That is not part of your connective work unless it is specifically people you've reached out to connect with to grow your business. But the essential work is dealing with the transactional stuff that you have every day, responding to, the title company emails or the lender emails. It's all of those important things that have to be done in the business that are not necessarily driving the future business that connective work or performance work does.
Absolutely. So that's your routine.
That's the routine that I have been jumping into. Now, here's what I'll tell you. Changing my calendar. I book appointments oftentimes up to 3 weeks out, sometimes a little bit further than that, right? So I have things like as we've been developing the most recent content for these podcasts, even like we book our times months in advance, right? They're blocked out on my calendar.
We have to.
Yeah, that's the only way that I know not to schedule over all of that stuff. So what I've been doing is reformulating my calendar to put in my connective work, to put in my performance work. I know that performance work is just going to oftentimes come up, but I reserve certain late afternoons, early evenings for my performance work a few days a week. Like Mondays and Thursdays, I target to do evening performance work, listing appointments and buyer appointments. We don't have other family obligations those nights. Those are
and that works for me,
right?
Yeah.
So that said, though, before I put anything on what I call the core calendar, right, I put my family responsibilities on there first. My appointments with my family go on there first. And now I'm reformulating my whole calendar to block the times in advance for my 4 work modes so that I can be more efficient in my work.
Nice.
So I'm teaching this not as a routine person, but I've seen the power of deep work, and I've used connective work, performance work, essential work throughout my career. I've never defined it, and I've never been good about blocking it. Oftentimes, I've let my calendar control me instead of me controlling my calendar. That is what I've been diligently changing in my life over the past many months.
That's great. That's awesome. Yes, we can all learn from this.
Yes.
We can all learn from this.
But how you start your morning, I think, is important.
I think is too.
That's the routine that
it
you
sets
need
you
to
up
get
for
in.
success. Think about the times when you wake up late, alarm's going off, you're 30 minutes late for your appointments, you're rushing, you didn't brush your hair, you didn't get ready, really, run out the door. You're not your best self.
Right.
Ever in those situations. Let's all be clear. If you think you are, then you're not. Look in the mirror.
Yeah, right.
For real.
Right.
Calm down, everybody. But you need to equip yourself to live your best life, to live your best day. And so doing that is setting yourself up for success in the morning.
Yep. You know what? This just came to me, and I think it's important to note. So I wear an Oura ring. I have I've had this for, I don't know, I think I'm probably a year and a half of wearing an Oura ring now. Oura ring is something, they do not sponsor the show, but it is something that measures your sleep, activity.
Yeah, there's a couple of different kinds.
All kinds of biometrics. Yeah. But when I got it, I thought, yeah, I'm going to bed and I'm getting 7 hours of sleep or getting, whatever. What it measures, though, is it shows me that I'm waking up, right? And I'm not getting the amount of sleep that I think I'm getting. And so you talked about waking up late. That's what made me think of this. Now, I will tell you, I've learned how important my sleep is to me functioning and being very productive during the day. So there are times that I delay if I have time in my calendar, I'll delay my morning routine to get the right amount of sleep for my body. However, what I found is my routine starts at going to bed the night before, and
there you go.
My wife will tell you, 9 o'clock rolls around and I'm starting to get pretty tired.
Yeah.
Because I've started to get in the routine that I'm between 9:30 and 10 every night. I'm usually falling asleep.
Wow.
So
what a dream.
Well, it is a dream, but I've started to make that part of my routine so that I can function better, so that I can make it to the gym, so that I can have my time in the morning.
Well, Joey and I have really good friends who had to switch their routine this past year because my friend took a job where she is a dean of students at a school, and a school that is 45 minutes from their house, and a private school, and she has to be there at 6.
Ooh.
So they're up at 4:30.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sorry, that is still nighttime.
Yeah.
But when we didn't see them for a while, we were like, why? We keep trying to work out our calendars, and everything keeps getting confused, or it's not working out. Well, it's because they were going to sleep at 7 or 8. And I was like,
yeah, but you have...
I'm just now starting my evening at 7.
Yeah, right.
I'm what are you talking about? But they had to adjust to be able to set themselves up for success and create that routine that was essential. And so their kids and that were all fed, ready for bed, going to bed around between 7 and 8. And it was great. And they would wake up at 4:30. Roger would go to the gym. Hannah would read and do all the things. And then they would get ready and go to work.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's wild. And even, too, Roger didn't have a job that needed him to be up that early. But it was essential for him to spend time with his family.
And think about how you feel, though, on 5 or 6 hours of sleep. I can't do it. I feel terrible. Now, I know, look at our president, right? He's a person. He's I can't remember. It's 1 out of, I don't know, 100 people that have the kind of physiology that he has, where he can survive on 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night. That's not me. Yeah. I must have 6.5. Okay, to function.
At least.
And then 7 to 8 is my target. I rarely get 8 hours, but 7 is usually really good for me. So anyway, okay.
Great, let's move on. Because I talk about sleep all day. If you weren't in real estate, here we go. What would you be pursuing? What passion, what would you be doing?
So I would say one of two things. I would travel around the country speaking and inspiring others to live their best life and achieve ultimate success. I do love public speaking. I've been doing more and more of it. Going to South Dakota in a few weeks and going to be speaking hopefully across the state.
Yeah.
And I have a speaking agent, and she just emailed me today and said that she actually has she's submitted my information to Wyoming to get me approved as a speaker. So maybe I'll speak in a couple different states out there. But I love it. I really love inspiring people, and that's a fun way to do it. Like this is great. And I have people comment on it, and I have people reach out to me from the show, but I can see the audience, read the audience, talk to the audience. Yeah, and that's fun to me. The other thing I would do, though, is I would be a tour guide to Africa. So I guided 2 tours to Africa, to South Africa and Zimbabwe.
Oh my gosh.
And
how cool is
I've been 4 times. And I just love it. There is nothing in the world like, driving down the road and all of a sudden an elephant walks out in front of you. Just things that happen. And over the 4 times that I went to Africa, I really fell in love with the areas that we would go to. And I love guiding those tours. It's been I haven't done it since 2018. So I hope someday that I can get back to doing it. And, it was just so much fun to get to do that and travel and then go and experience it with my grandkids one day. I've got taken all my kids and Elizabeth, so it would be really cool to get to go do that. So that's kind of like my secret one. I want to
go on a tour.
Yeah.
I want to go on a tour. We're going to have to schedule a tour sometime.
Now, when I guide tours, just so you know, I am the one saying, hey, if you're not on the bus by 7 o'clock, then you're going to be walking.
Then it's not for me.
I'm not the one that explains, how an elephant ear works, right? But
no, you're just bringing the people and getting them to the right place.
Making sure they have their passports, handling problems with the hotels. And for whatever reason, I just love doing that. But of course, I'm in Africa and I'm seeing some of the most amazing things in the world.
I remember I did that for a mission trip for a church, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
Even though it was exhausting.
It is exhausting.
And so difficult managing people. But it's really fun.
It is. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
A ton of fun. So anyway,
awesome.
that's what I would do if I were not in real estate. It's either I'm traveling all over speaking or I want to guide trips to Africa.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I feel like we've really been able to, I feel like every episode when Mark talks about Mark and stuff, and we're able to see more and more of just who you are and your personality and all the different things. So it was really cool. This was a great episode. Anything else that you want to say to close us out?
Well, first of all, I'm really proud of you. You've been doing awesome. So I am really, I don't give you and Sarah enough credit because they do so much to make this show work.
I looked over at Sarah and I both
Sarah's
were like
no, but they do so much to make the show work. And so I love the fact that you guys are so committed to this and making it successful. Yeah. And I do love when you do these interviews with me.
It's fun. We have a good time.
It is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to work together. But my heart for this show, as I say every week, is to help others live their best lives and achieve ultimate success. And I really, truly hope that the things that you hear on this show, especially as we're launching out, doing more interviews and talking to more people, that it does inspire you. I want you to be inspired. And I don't just want you to live a good life where you work a ton. That's not worth it. Your best life is where you know your priorities, what is most important in your life. And so my belief is that that's your faith, that's your family, and that is where that's why we do what we do. Otherwise, you are wasting your time in real estate, right? All the money in the world is never going to buy you happiness. And so I challenge you with that. I want you to be inspired to that I'm going to live my best life. And a lot of what we're going to talk about on this show is for that. And then I want you to achieve ultimate success as well. And no one's coming to your funeral to talk about how many houses you sold or how much money you made. No one's going to say, well, he or she was always ranked in the top however many agents, right? Maybe that'll get mentioned in passing, but it's not going to be meaningful to the people who are there. What's going to inspire others? What's going to challenge others? What's going to, leave a mark on this world from what happens at your funeral is going to be the relationships that you had while you were here. So focus on those relationships, and that's where it will lead to ultimate success. So that's my last word.
Great. This was a good one. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.